Food is the most important thing when it comes to fat loss in women over 40, and yet you've told me that food is your biggest problem. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you, if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50, get in fantastic shape. And I carried out a survey here on YouTube, and you told me that food was the biggest struggle you have when it comes to losing weight. And in my experience, it's normally the thing that women get most wrong. And the thing about food is, it's the most important thing to get right when it comes to fat loss. I'm going to be talking about in this video the 6 biggest food mistakes, and some of these mistakes I've made myself. There's so much misinformation going around about how to eat healthily, how to lose weight, and so it's really confusing to know what to believe, isn't it? And before I go on to talk about the big mistakes, I want to talk about losing weight versus body composition. All too often, we're sold on the idea of weight loss rather than fat loss by the diet industry. What we're looking for, isn't it, is instant gratification. And the diet industry, and many of the diets with a name, they sell you, don't they, on the idea of rapid fat loss, losing weight as quickly as possible. But that's actually not going to give you the body of your dreams. You're either going to end up with that skinny fat, or what happens to most people is they dramatically lose weight and then they gain it all back, and often they gain back more. If you start to understand that what you need to be doing is improving your body composition and not losing weight, that's going to really help you, because improving body composition is actually about losing fat rather than losing weight. So rather than losing weight on the scale, what we're talking about is losing fat, but at the same time putting on muscle. And if you're a woman over 40, that's the thing that's going to really transform your shape. And you need to let go of that diet culture, what the food industry tells you, what the diet industry tells you, and you need to kind of work on eating well to improve your body composition. The over 40 method that I'm talking about is not sexy. It doesn't get instant gratification. It takes time and patience. But what you will see is a really good success rate. And ultimately, that's what you want, don't you? You want to lose the fat and you want to keep it off for good. I'm now going to talk about the 6 biggest common mistakes when it comes to food and fat loss. Now, the first mistake is calories in versus calories out, or in other words, it's known as a calorie deficit, which just means burning more energy than you're putting in. And what you're putting in is food, isn't it? The problem is that just oversimplifies it, doesn't it? It's not just as simple as calories in versus calories out. Of course, yes, you do need to be in a calorie deficit, but you can be in too much of an extreme calorie deficit. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute. When you get to this stage in life, it's not just as simple as calories in versus calories out. And I'm going to go on to talk about it when I talk about the other mistakes, what you actually need to be thinking. The second biggest mistake that I see is too much focus on scale weight and not enough focus on body composition. So in other words, building muscle and losing fat, that's body composition. And so what happens when we're thinking about scale weight is you can actually think, I'm not losing fat because I'm not losing weight on the scale. And that is absolutely not the case. And I would advise you to actually ditch the scale. This is what I advise women that I work with, because it's just one indication out of a range of other things that you need to be thinking about. So what you need to be looking at is actually measurements and photos. That's the most important thing. That's going to tell you the full story. That's going to tell you more about your body's composition, because scale weight can actually be an indication of water, how much you've been drinking, whether you've been to the bathroom or not, what time of day it is, whether you've got tension going on in your muscle. There's so many things that can actually make the scale change other than whether you're losing fat or not. The third biggest mistake I see when it comes to food and fat loss is trying to lose weight too quickly. Now, that can come in the form of maybe a really extreme diet, low calories, extreme fasting, you know, 1 meal a day or 24-hour fasting, that kind of thing. Because with all those methods, what that means, you're actually making your metabolism worse. And what you want to be doing to improve your body composition is actually make your metabolism better. It can lead to also all sorts of problems around cortisol levels, so raised cortisol levels. And that hormone has a massive impact on your body's ability to lose fat. It can reduce your metabolism, so it means that your body just finds it more difficult to lose fat. When you're talking about the more extreme form of dieting, so that's like rapid weight loss, it's actually not going to work in the long term. If you do lose the weight, and many women find that they actually don't lose the weight using this method, what happens is you're going to put the weight on again, and even more than you had before in a lot of cases. And this is borne out in a lot of the studies that have been undertaken. The fourth biggest mistake that I see, and many women come to me with this, is you're not eating enough protein. And you find it really difficult, don't you, to get your protein in? Lots of women are telling me this. For me, now that I'm into the habit of getting lots of protein in, it's actually really easy. But you should be eating 1 gram of protein for every pound in your body weight. Or if you weigh over 170 pounds, go for your goal body weight. If you're a 150-pound woman, you need to be eating 150 grams of protein. It doesn't matter if you're plant-based, it doesn't matter what dietary requirements you have, it is absolutely possible to get that amount of protein in. I eat 150, 160 grams of protein. It's absolutely fine, and I eat a lot of plant-based foods. You can take a look at my what I eat in the days to actually get an idea what a day looks like for me to get my protein in, and you can see absolutely how it's done. But how it's done is eating protein at every single meal and snack. So it's exchanging snacks that you might normally have for things like Greek yogurt or a protein shake. That's the kind of thing that you need to be thinking about. Now, I do have a free nutrition guide where it absolutely breaks it down for you exactly what you need to be doing when it comes to getting enough protein, everything else that you need to be considering when it comes to getting in the right food. Do download that, and I'll put a link up here and in the description to take you straight to that download. The fifth biggest mistake that I see when it comes to food is not paying enough attention to your hormone health. So what does that mean? Well, that's talking about what I was talking about earlier on, where we're focusing on calories in versus calories out, but not focusing on the types of foods that you should be eating. And they're going to make a massive difference, because what can happen leading up to perimenopause, then perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause is that you can have a lot of inflammation in your body. And if you've got inflammation in your body, you're not going to be able to lose body fat. You know, there are a number of reasons for that. Raised cortisol levels because of stress, not getting enough sleep. So those are things you need to look at, as well as how you're eating. But how you're eating to reduce inflammation is you need to be paying strong attention to your gut health. If your gut is off, so mine went off a few years ago, my gut started going off and I didn't have any problems with my gut before, and it starts to go off at this stage in life because of the changes in your hormones. It's really good if you can take a probiotic and a digestive enzyme. They're going to really help you if your gut's off, but it's actually also paying attention to the foods that you might have a strong reaction to. You might get bloating, or they're really difficult to digest, and avoid those types of foods. And most commonly, they tend to be dairy and gluten. Those are the biggest culprits, but it can be loads of other foods as well. You need to be keeping to a minimum processed foods and foods with chemicals in them, because they can really disrupt your hormones. So you can see it's not just calories in versus calories out. The sixth biggest mistake that I see, and this is possibly the biggest one, is you know what you need to be doing, but you just can't control your eating. And what I commonly see women at this stage in life getting really strong cravings, especially for things like sugary foods. Now, there can be a number of reasons why you can't get control of your eating. So a typical pattern that can happen that I've seen many women approach me is they eat really well through the day, and then come the evening, or maybe come the weekends, that's when they tend to go off the rails and eat the high fat, high sugar, high salt foods, which you know what you should be eating, and you know those foods are not going to help you reach your goals. And many women feel, maybe you're one of these women that feels you just can't control it, right? You just have this really strong urge and you can't control it, and you know you shouldn't be doing it, but you can't help yourself. Well, there are several reasons. Hormones, lack of sleep, stress can actually cause you to have these cravings. So it's really important that you actually get on top of your sleep and stress. And if that's not the issue and it's a mindset issue, some of this can actually be about loving yourself. Maybe you've had trauma earlier in your life and it just manifests itself through foods. If you've been really finding it hard to take control of your food all through your life, it's a good idea to actually tackle this before you actually tackle any of the other things. You might want to get life coaching, you might want to get therapy. Some people find hypnosis really, really useful. If you're finding it hard to take control of your eating, there is usually some sort of underlying problem and you need to get to the root of it. Every week on my live calls in my Strong Women Club, I talk and answer questions on all of these issues that I've been talking about in this video. It's not just about providing you with a workout. It's not just providing you with a meal plan. It's actually giving you the proper guidance to navigate through this really challenging time of life, which impacts, after all, on every aspect of your life. If you could let me know in the comments section what your biggest problem is when we're talking about food, I would love to know.